This is my 1992 International 4900, and today we'll be chopping off the old dump bed hinges and installing new ones. So this is an old state unit, and it was used for some salt spreading. So as you can imagine, we got us some damage back here. Look at these hinges. Have to say, that is a sorry sight. So let's whack all this stuff off, get right to it. Now, I've never done this, but can't be too hard, right? The plan is gonna take the old plasma cutter and probably throw sparks on my new mud flaps and burn this wiring up. Actually, first, since I know this is all bashed up, I'm gonna go ahead and cut me some access holes here so I can see what I'm doing a little better, and when I'm done I can just build a plate to cover all that back up. So here we got our locking bar that operates these jaws. It looks like it's had a rough life. Well, we're gonna try to break our locking jaws free. Let's see if this works. Oh, nice. Back to the task at hand. Now it almost looks like, look at that. I don't know how often they greased it. Well, I was hoping to just use the plasma cutter to cut it out, but it's like we need something a little heavier duty. Well, I'm not having any luck just cutting the hinges off. I can't get them to break free. They got them welded down in there and I can't really get to it. So instead, I'm just gonna cut out this angle iron that runs across there and knock that whole piece out. Jeez. Ah. Oh, finally. So I gotta make me a new whoopty to go across there to mount my hinges to. So I got this chunk of frame rail. A year or two ago I shortened the wheelbase on a big truck, so I got this extra long chunk to use here. So this is pretty thick stuff. I'm gonna do some measurements. So kind of my idea here is to notch out more of the frame. Slide this chunk of frame rail in there farther, then maybe have these hinges at the back and weld up all my goobly gop there. Ought to be pretty strong. Now it would be cool to leave most of this back chunk here, but I think here about the hinge I'm gonna have to notch out for whatever as it comes up. It might smack that. So the front of this bed's so bashed up, I don't know how well you can see in there, that it's slightly touching the hydraulic reservoir. So I think I'm gonna scoot the bed back ½ inch or so. Instead of fixing the bed, I'll just scoot the bed back a little bit and weld the hinges on. I was just about to lop that ground stud off there, but that actually might be handy for when I do all new wiring for back here. By the way, I built these hinges at work while it was slow. We got a nice MIG welder. So what you see here, this is a Cummins ISX wrist pin. And I used some square channel and then some really thick scrap to build these two hinges. So I think this is quite a bit heavier duty setup than originally came with the bed. But I was really just trying to build some free hinges, you know, out of scrap. Now, I did try to drill this wrist pin to add a greaser, and they must make these wrist pins out of some pretty tough stuff because it is pretty much impossible to drill into with the crap I got. I'll have to just lube the bolt up with anti-seize or grease before I stick it in, and I am pretty confident that it will wear down the bolt before it will wear down any of the bushings, so I might have to slap some new bolts in it if I end up putting a whole bunch of dumps on this dump truck. You can see the bushings I made here are also from those wrist pins. I'm gonna go ahead and weld all this jazz into place, and then I'll build my up bracket thingies. Well, I gotta let the MIG welder cool off to finish welding this, or I'm gonna go ahead and make me some templates for these brackets here. And I think I should use some more of this thick frame rail. Alright, got my 4 hinge plate deals cut out. I'm going to clean these up good enough to weld them, but I'm not really worried about cosmetics, so I'll probably leave all the plasma cutter marks. This poor welder. Its duty cycle really isn't set up for really heavy welding when you got the amperage turned way up. So, looks like I'll just be stick welding a while. Sure like using the MIG, but taking too much time. 6011 rod it is. Not the prettiest, so I think to straighten this up I'm going to cut my janky edge up here and weld me in a block that will cover all this up and also weld to the hinge. Gift that keeps on giving. This side turned out pretty dang beautiful. So, I'm not going to show you the other side. This will be the side that breaks though, probably. So let's test this thing out. Now they got some stuff for the hydraulics unhooked under here, and I think it's because those hinges were so messed up, but I'm not sure, so let's see. Yeah. Let me see which valve's actually for the dump. This one here. Now I just put a new line on. Here this line was leaking. So, in theory, I can run the engine, pull vice grips, and see if it works. So I got oil. So I'm definitely not an expert. So I think that's the main return there, of course. We got the main pressure line right there. We got a secondary return to the tank. But I think this little 1/4 inch line here is like a sensing line, because back at the big valve body back there, it looks like it is tied into the same ports as the main pressure lines. So let's check pressure at this line first, just to start somewhere. You know, actually I think I'll just pull this thing off and take it apart and see if there's any gobbledygook in it. Looks like we got 3 O-rings there. Well, I don't really see anything wrong. I got all the valves out of it. Not a whole lot to it, but anyways, might as well clean it up real good and try it. I can see a little bit of chattering on the end of this valve here, so I'm just gonna lightly sand it. Okay, got that all back together. Now these 2 valves are adjustable. I think this one here is for the load sensing and this one is for the pressure relief. Not sure, but I went ahead and installed me a gauge. It goes up to 4,000 PSI. I don't know what this pump actually puts out, but we're gonna start it. And I don't even know what this line's actually supposed to read. So our remote sense loading, I went ahead and screwed that screw all the way in. That should bypass all of the remote loading and still no hydraulic pressure, flow, whatever. Now I don't really have any more equipment to actually properly test this pump. It would be nice to deadhead this into something and actually be able to adjust the pressure, see what I can do. Obviously don't have that, and the tools are pretty expensive, so I'm pretty confident this pump is bad. So let's go ahead and get it off there. Well, this bumper looks like it weighs 10 million pounds, and we have basically no clearance between it and the pump. Pump's gotta slide out, but I have a solution for that. Oh. Won't find that in the manual. So this guy here is a Rexroth variable displacement piston pump. That's all fine and dandy, and that's great for a plow truck, but since I'm turning this unit into a dump truck, I don't think I need all the capabilities of this pump, and frankly the rebuild price and also the replacement price of this pump is slightly outrageous. So Rexroth is associated with Bosch. I don't know if Bosch owns Rexroth or whatever, that's their division. Doesn't really matter, but anytime you hear the name Bosch, you think money, 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 money. So I'm gonna check into getting a gear pump type Parker or something of that nature hydraulic pump. So got the new hydraulic pump here. Went ahead and installed my drive shaft with also some mechanics wire on there. Now I'll post a link to this hydraulic pump off of Amazon for those that are also seeking about replacing their snowplow hydraulic pump. So this is a gear pump while this is a piston pump, and you can see there's a pretty big size difference. Now these pumps are great, but they are way more expensive, they're less reliable, but they are more efficient. But this gear pump here will be just fixed displacement, so the engine's turning 1,000 RPM, it's pumping whatever it's rated for at that speed. So I tried to size this pump a bit smaller than this one. That way I'm not lugging that engine all the time. So the new pump is bi-directional, so it goes both ways. So I had to spin the pump around to see which side it's actually going to suck and discharge from. I got them marked here. The old pump was only single directional. Bad thing about having 2 shops is all the tools that I need seem to be at the other shop right now. So I'm making do. So the new pump, I have a little adapter bushing and a new angle fitting to actually adapt the hoses. Okay, I got the drive shaft propped up with a bungee cord, so I gotta make sure I put the spline this thing up in phase as I'm installing it. Okay. Well, that kind of sucked, but looks like it is in phase. We can bolt her up. It looks like this brace here is going to be right in the way, but I got to fix for that. So we got the pump on. Got a pretty huge access hole now, being that the pump's so much smaller. So we still got our two lines. This is the extra return line and the remote load sense line. We'll have to plug all this. What do you think about the dump truck? Hey. Okay. We got this return line that we need to disconnect and plug. I want to go ahead and just disconnect the whole line, and I'll end up removing it from the truck. Unfortunately, it's right on the bottom of the tank, so we're gonna try and not drain all this expensive oil. Look at this old girl. I think I got this from my dad. I don't remember. Light service wrench. Man. Oh, W, I think it's awards. Huh. I think if I had the choice, I would prefer the hydraulic reservoir to be right here on the side of the dump truck rather than tucked up under the bed here. It's just about to let loose. I really don't want to make a big old freaking mess. That's all right. So that line's down, but next we have to plug this load sensing line. Looks like it's that line right there. All right, got that done. Now I got me a new hydraulic oil filter. Oh man, this thing is so nasty. Well, I just broke my strap. That's irritating. I use this for all my gas engine services. I should have punched a hole in it. Too late now. Okay, let's spin our new filter on. Well, I think we're ready to test her out. I don't think I'm forgetting anything, so fingers crossed it'll work. This new gear pump is to be used in a open center hydraulic system, and all the hydraulics on this dump truck, the hydraulic valve is a closed center, so the pump deadheads to that valve body and the engine won't start. So I did crack a line and make sure the engine would start and the pump's pushing pressure. So I did kind of think this might be the case, being that generally a piston pump is paired with a closed hydraulic system. Never fret, I think this dump truck could use all new hydraulic lines and a new setup, so that's what we're gonna do. So since the new pump's deadheading and killing the engine, we're gonna just try and pick the bed up by, I'm gonna hold the valve for the bed dump while Dad cranks it. We're just gonna see what happens. Okay, I don't know which way I have to pull the valve, so we might have to. we're gonna look it over a little bit. I feel like the part of the bed that's destroyed isn't necessary for the structure of it, because they got that plate in there, and I think if I weld that down good and then tie everything into it, it'll be a better but well, that's gonna be it for this video. In the next video on the dump truck, we'll be installing that open center hydraulics conversion. So I think it'll be all going inside the cab. I'm not sure, but this was nice to see that it actually does dump. Hope you guys found this interesting or entertaining. Certainly not a professional, but sometimes you gotta make things work. We'll catch you in the next video.
Keep thinking.